In a world where losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option, we present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
Hey YouTubers, make sure you click subscribe if you like what you hear and what you see. Today we're going to be talking about commissioners. This is the Commish episode.
Commish Conversations.
Yes, so if you want to see more, make sure you click subscribe, and if you could go on www.podcastawards.com and vote for Triple Coverage Podcast, we greatly appreciate it. Otherwise, sit back, crack a cold one, and enjoy. All right, ready? 3, 2.
Negatory.
I'll hit you 3, 2, 1 in a second. I almost messed it up there. Started recording, so it's okay. I can think about it.
Losing in your fantasy football league isn't an option. We present to you Triple Coverage Podcast.
So if those 4 teams get an injury, then you're the man, DeMarco. The other 28, sorry, it's a committee. It's still a 50-50 split. The committee is 2 now? All depends on Jim Bob Cooter. I love to talk about Cooter, so I'm all in on Bob Cooter. Get it.
All right, now you're ready.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Triple Coverage Podcast. I'm Travis Sutton. I'm here with my boy Jay Up,
What's up, guys?
and we're missing one man down.
He's still kind of a rookie commish.
Yeah, he's still a rookie commish. He's still getting his bearings, learning how to walk.
Very easily frustrated.
He's a little bit of anxiety.
Yeah, as commish, he gets very easily frustrated.
Maybe this will help with some of those challenges.
Will ease his pain.
Commissioner conversations. We're gonna go a little bit off the reservation today, and
Yes.
talk a little bit. Just have a conversation about some commissioner stuff. We're both commissioners in different leagues that we have. We are both in those leagues that we commish. I'm
Yes.
in yours. You're in mine.
Yes.
It's a big family thing.
It's a family affair,
It's
yeah.
a family affair.
I couldn't do anymore. I'm the commissioner of 3 different leagues. So,
Wow.
yeah, that's where I capped it. I capped it at 3.
That's it. I'm one dynasty. I was a commissioner of a redraft, but I believe that is going to fold like a lawn chair this season. And we're going to focus on the dynasty league.
Let's do it.
So let's just get started off. Let's break the ice here. Jay,
Yes.
how did you first become a commissioner?
It's actually a pretty interesting story.
Were
So,
you drawn to it?
I was actually signed up for it.
Okay.
I did. I signed up for it because no one else wanted to do it. And the reason why was it was a group of friends, and I think the very first year we only had 10 teams. And this was back before you even knew what PPR was, or Dynasty for that matter. It was standard. It was 6 points for a touchdown, and it was, a 1 point for every 10 yards rushing and 25 yards passing.
Is that one of those where if you get 9 yards, you don't get the point?
Yes.
Ugh, terrible.
No decimal points, yeah, no decimal. So if you got 9
Archaic.
yards, yes, it was. And this,
Prehistoric.
I mean, we're talking, this is back in like 94-ish, 94, 95-ish. And the reason why I was commissioner is because no one else, this is before the internet was
A thing?
a thing, and there was no stats to just go look up on,
Before Al Gore created the internet?
Yeah, before that, yeah.
Okay.
So you had to literally go through the newspaper, which was always a day behind, obviously. So Sunday's games, you had to wait for Monday's newspaper to go through and do the stats, and then on the Monday night game, you had to wait for Tuesday's paper to come out. So imagine like you bite your nails watching a Monday night football game, and you're getting live updates like to the second. Like as soon as someone breaks a 20-yard run, you're getting those 2 points right then and there. We're talking like you knew going into Monday night that you needed 4 or 5 points. If you didn't watch the game, you didn't know until Tuesday afternoon if you'd won or not.
That's so crazy.
You had to do the stats at home yourself and then hope that it matched up with what the newspaper said. And that's what we went by. Whatever the newspaper said is what we stuck by.
That was the end all be all.
That was it. And so that's how I started being the commissioner of that league. And slowly but surely, the other leagues I became commissioner of was all not leagues that I started. It's because the original commissioner of those leagues wanted out. and I wanted to keep the league going. I didn't want it to fold, and so I took over.
Next man up.
That's how our dynasty league came about, because I wasn't in that original league when it was a redraft. I wasn't in it.
Oh, you weren't.
No, that was all you guys
Oh,
from
that's right.
that were on the belt together
They all
at
worked
work.
together, yeah.
And I wasn't in the original league. Someone dropped out, and I took over. And James was the commissioner, and he wanted out as commissioner, and I didn't want that league to fold because I just got into it. So I said I would take over as commissioner if we kept the league going. He said he would play as long as he didn't have to be the commissioner, and that's how that league kept going. And now it's turned into dynasty.
Little brother said, "Big bro, get in here."
And then the other league that I'm commissioner of is the keeper league. We just turned into a keeper.
Right.
That was the Blam league. Now that one, we were in a league with a bunch of people we didn't really know. It was basically a friend of a friend brought us in. A guy we talked about before on the show, Daryl. He brought us into that league, and that was when we were real big on the message boards and talking trash.
You guys were feisty in your younger years.
Well, everyone did it. Everyone talked trash, but like we would get some good zingers in there, and and it wasn't like bad stuff. It wasn't any cussing at them or calling them names. It was just some good zingers.
Sounds like the Up brothers were some habitual line steppers. You crossed that line a lot.
We did, and they told us that they weren't going to do the league anymore, which I don't know, because that league had gone on for like a long time, and so we basically created what we call the Blam Rejects League, because we were rejected from that league, and we started our own. So I took over as commissioner of that, and the rest is history there.
I remember as a young fantasy player when I was first getting into it, you guys roped me into that league way back when.
We did.
And the settings and the score, like I just didn't understand. That was before I really kind of decided to take fantasy a little more seriously.
Yes.
And try to be good at it. And I just did not get it and grasp it, so I kind of dropped out. But I came back around when recently, last couple
And you're
years.
back in that league now. Now it's a keeper league. We saw fresh meat with you, and we roped you right in.
I was fresh meat back in the day.
Oh,
Even
we
when
did.
When we started that one, your brother was commissioner of. It was more of a just kind of hang out and kind of do, and habitually in the bottom of the league those first few years.
I miss those days.
Yeah, I bet
When you were
do.
habitually the bottom
Yeah, you
there.
do. Now you got some competition, but
Yeah, and then the third, not to change that,
Oh, yeah.
the third league that I'm commissioner of is the Big Boy League. That's the $500 league, which I also was not commissioner of. That was our good friend Jimmy was commissioner of that. He started making up rules on the fly, like during the season, and so of course he got a lot of pushback from everybody, and he decided he didn't want to be commissioner anymore mid-season. So I called him. I said, "Hey, look, don't just give everybody their money back. We're in the middle of a season. No one knows what's going to happen. Put me as co-commissioner. I'll take over for the rest of the time, and then you don't have to worry about anybody, bitching to you, complaining."
man, sounds like you're a real stand-up guy.
He said, "Okay," and I've been the commissioner of that league ever since, and this would be the first year he's actually dropping out of the league because it's not Dynasty. But I wanted to hold a couple of redrafts still, because not just for sentimental value, but because they're kind of fun. I mean, I like to have a little bit of array of everything.
Yeah, the different formats are challenging, and I think it helps in your other formats as well, kind of gaining that experience from different
Correct.
ups and downs through the season. Yeah, that's quite the story. It's more interesting than mine. My league, I had a little redraft league at work. There was a lot of people. It was me, you, your brother, a few that have played fantasy, and then there was a few that were very new to fantasy and didn't really play.
But they were interested in it.
Right. To take that first step is kind of hard sometimes, because you don't want to just get into something you don't know what you're doing and throw away some money and look stupid and all those fear-based things that keep you from getting. That's like when we switched to Dynasty. That was a big part of it too.
Everyone was scared.
Yeah, everybody was apprehensive about it. But change is good, I think. I've come to kind of realize that, especially in being a commissioner of that little league, even though it's folding, and then I started a Dynasty league because I wanted a different format. Because some of the redraft and the Dynasty we started were all very similar formats, and it's almost getting a little redundant. So that, I think a lot of our leagues are changing.
Right.
So I wanted to get a league and have more of a say and control over how it was set up and just how it progressed. And I wanted to, because I feel like some leagues were getting stale.
They were absolutely getting stale. And the reason I liked that little league you started up at work was because everyone's going to think, oh, the three of you guys are just trying to take advantage of these guys I've never played before, but that wasn't the case. Like, if I remember, the entry fee the first year was either free or like $20, because we're trying to get the word out there to fantasy football is fun and to play fantasy football and not be scared of it. It wasn't like we went out there and said, hey, this is a $200 league and you have to know what you're doing. It was like more of like we were trying to teach them how to play and what to do. And we were actually very helpful in that first season with like telling people what to do, and they would come to us and say like, hey, should I drop this guy? And we easily could have been like, yeah, drop that guy so I can go scoop him up. But it was like, no, don't drop this guy, drop this guy, do this and see how it goes. And so it was more of like a helping league that first like year or two, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Even in Dynasty, like if anybody in the league wants to talk about anything, as the commissioner and what I want to see for the league, like I'm open. The only time I might say, hey, maybe send somebody to you or something is if maybe we're playing that next week and you're asking me some kind of questions where I don't feel right about, like I'm not going to steer you wrong, but I don't want to shoot myself in the foot, so to speak, either.
Right.
So, because I'm a believer in all boats rise with the tide. So if we all get better, that will make for a better league. So.
Which is better because you have disparity in there. I don't want there to be, and I've said this before on this show, I don't want there to be that team that is just every year they're a doormat and they never get better, because they're going to get bored with it and they're eventually going to want to leave, and I don't want that. And if that means that we have to change rules to kind of make it more parity, then I'm all for that. Which is what we've kind of done. Like every year we've kind of changed a couple of rules in the fantasy league, in the dynasty one, the original. And I'm fine with going forward with changing stuff, because I want there to be more options for these guys that maybe aren't like extremely happy with their team. They're like, if I really could just do this or this, so like let's make some rules so where everyone's good.
Yeah, I agree. On that point, because we're in both leagues together.
Yeah.
And because I started my dynasty up, and from the get-go, it was kind of, there's no voting in this one, no voting on trades.
Right.
I put things out there that are important if it's a change with like scoring or anything like that, which there hasn't been. That is definitely something I feel needs to kind of be voted on. But I feel like just being more involved in dynasty, that there's a lot of things that the commissioner should have the ability to just say, hey, this is kind of what we're going to do. Not like last second or mid-season, but when it comes to the off season and you're reworking your vision for your league, you should have the ability to do certain things. And I think I have more free reign to do that in my league because it was kind of started that way.
Oh, 100% you do.
In our other one, we vote on pretty much everything.
Yes.
Which the more experience I get, I feel like is a bad idea almost, because nobody's going to really look at it as, oh, this is what's best for the league, without having what's best for me and my team involved as well.
Right. And the reason why, like the leagues that I'm the commissioner of, or every one of them, all three of them are actually, I do votes for everything, and a majority wins. And even if it's a 7-5 vote, and you have 5 guys that aren't 100% in on the vote, we still go with majority, and everyone knows that. So the ones that don't get the win on that, they understand and they take it easily. They're like, okay, go with the flow, whatever. But they definitely make their voice heard on the vote if they're not happy with it. But the reason I have to do that is because since day one, like I said, all 3 of these leagues I kind of took over. It wasn't like I created anything.
But they're yours. You are in charge of them. So they're
correct.
yours now.
But the reason because even before I took over, everything was to a vote, and so I feel like I have to maintain that, so there's not this big huge uproar, and that's the way I kind of feel. To whereas you started yours and you said, hey, this is the way it's going to be, and yeah, every year there's going to be some changes, and everyone's going to have to adapt, and they're not going to be major changes. But with mine, I feel like every time something is brought up, any kind of change, there's like
the immediate reaction is no.
Correct. Every time.
Which, I mean, from a human perspective, it's understandable that people would rather not have the rug pulled out from under them, even though that's not the case, or it might not be quite what they first initially think. The first reaction is, no, I'm not going to change anything. Well, just like when we changed to a dynasty, there was a guy staunchly again,st it.
Yeah, he was going to drop out.
One of the biggest fans of it.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think change is good. But on the voting thing, for a league, what do you think should be voted on without a doubt, and what do you think are some things that shouldn't be voted on?
To me, any kind of scoring changes should be voted on.
I agree.
I also feel like any kind of lineup changes, because that to me is a huge thing, and we actually had that brought up a couple times in that original league. That to me is a huge deal. If you have a team that's set up with not a lot of depth, And then you have other teams that are set up with a lot of depth. That's going to favor them, even if you're giving it a year out.
I agree. I definitely agree with that. That's it directly affects like your ability to put your team together and fill a lineup and all that kind of stuff. I definitely agree with that.
I do wish, though, like on your point, I do wish there was times where I could just say, this is the new rule, and this is the way it's going to go, and have it just be that. But we just tried that recently with our Dynasty, the original Dynasty League. We decided we wanted to make it rookies only on the taxi squad. Because right now the way we have it set up is first and second year guys are on their taxi squad, which gives you 2 years before you have to move that guy up or down, whatever you want to do with the guy. Mm-hmm. The thing that's hard with it is that we do it on myfantasyleague.com, which is a great site. And it goes into so much depth, you can do anything you want. But one of the things you can't do is you have to police it. It gives you an option for rookies only on the taxi squad, or everybody can go on the taxi squad. It doesn't give you a choice of first and second year guys. So that means the whole entire league has to police each other, which sometimes just gets to be too hectic and you can't do it. So we ran into that problem last year where we had one guy that had somebody that was in their 4th year on the taxi squad. Another guy had somebody that was in his 5th year on the taxi squad for a couple of weeks before somebody caught it.
Yeah.
And if you just had rookies only, the league, the website does it for you.
Right.
When I brought that up at the latest draft and said that, hey, it's not going to go into effect until 2019, so it doesn't affect anything you do tonight, you would have thought I asked somebody to commit a crime. Everybody jumped on my case.
A lot of pushback.
Oh, big time.
I mean,
so I said, okay, fine. Like, I don't want this to be this huge ordeal over nothing, essentially. So let's put it to a vote, and majority wins. And everyone said, I'm cool with that. And I said, however it goes, whatever the majority votes with, that's the final answer. And everyone said, okay, fine. And it barely won. Rookies only won 7-5.
Okay.
That's how slim it was.
And for a while, it was the other way, I think.
It was
right?
6-6, which means we were going to keep it the same because it's obviously a tie. It's a
Right.
push. Somebody changed their vote. I'm not sure exactly who, but somebody changed their vote. And at the final countdown, it was 7-5. We go to rookies. And truth be told, and I told you this off air, that doesn't help me.
Well, in theory, it doesn't help anybody. Who it helps is the commissioner. Like your commissioner hat, it makes it easier for you because I feel like you can't ask the league to police itself.
Right.
With consistency.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. So I voted, and I put in my comment for the vote is I'm voting for what makes it easier for the commissioner because
Right.
I understand that having to think about that, or if something does go wrong and somebody has an issue, now it's on your shoulders to fix it or to take care of it or have some kind of penalty or whatever it is that somebody's going to want to see.
The funny part about it is, I don't know if you've had this in your league yet, but I've had leagues literally where someone breaks like a minor rule, a minor infraction, and the person that brings it to my attention immediately wants this guy like punished. And I don't know, like, I'm not that kind of harsh kind of guy to where I'm like taking wins away from people and doing this and doing that. I'm more of a like, let me text the guy and let him know and make him change it before, it gets out of hand or whatever. But yeah, people that catch this want like an immediate punishment.
Yeah.
And
which is crazy because you're asking for trouble if you're starting to get into affecting
Right.
outcomes and
that's what I mean. So it's like it's hard to have to police that stuff. Like I'm not like the NFL where I'm taking draft picks away from teams because they put in an illegal lineup. It's like just let me text the guy, let them know whatever minor thing that's going on, and let them give a chance to fix it.
yeah, you gotta have a warning at least, and then nobody's gonna really be like, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna do it anyway. Then yeah, you'll have to take action. But usually you let somebody know something, they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll take care of it.
Right. Usually that happens. Yeah.
I totally just lost my train of thought right there. I was gonna, on the voting for
New rules or for
the taxi squad.
yeah.
Oh man, dude, I'm getting old or something, dude. I totally lost my train of thought. I had a good question I wanted to ask you.
Maybe it'll pop back up.
It might. So, with the...
It had nothing to do with you.
Okay, I got it. It's back. It came back flying through. With the having, because the setting was initially the 2 years, so to theoretically let your guy develop before you have to do anything with getting rid of them. When it comes to taking a vote for something like that,
Right.
who would expect? I wouldn't expect anybody to either, but to vote with just the betterment of the league or the integrity of the league. That's not really integrity necessarily, but for moving the league forward and keeping it, the betterment of it, to vote without considering your team almost before the league, which I think is a double-edged sword, or it's a slippery slope.
Right.
To, well, that doesn't help my team, or it doesn't help anybody's team, obviously, but to keep that from pushing your league to evolve, like as a team owner.
It's going to make the teams that are the bottom half better, and this is the reason why, is because it's going to add more guys to the free agent pool. If everyone has to keep only rookies in their taxi squad, they have to make a choice when he moves into his second year. Like, did I see enough to keep this guy, or do I want to cut him loose? And if I do want to keep this guy, who am I going to cut loose? And it might be somebody that's decent. And I'm not saying they're like an all-pro or the guy that's, Alvin Kamara or like a Corey Davis that you're dropping. It's going to be like somebody decent is going to get cut, which is going to put those guys on the waiver wire, which is going to get more activity, number one.
Yes.
So teams are going to be more active on the waiver wire, or else they're just, SOL. So they're going to have to remain active, and it puts a better pool of guys in the waiver. Like right now, if you go on the waiver wire in all of our leagues, there's not a lot there. But once we do these cut downs, there's going to be some guys there. Like we have a couple of guys in this league, one in particular that has a few guys that have retired that they can cut easily. Like they're not coming back. Like Calvin Johnson and Jason Witten. Like these guys aren't coming back. So they have spots they can fill. And with what's available on the waiver wire right now, it's not going to be good. But once these cut downs come, there's going to be some good guys. So maybe they do catch lightning in a bottle. Yeah. Maybe they do get that guy that's going into his third year that the guy that had him didn't want him, cut bait. This guy grabs him. Now it makes his team better, which is what we're all for.
Yeah.
Like you can go out and say like for the betterment of my team, I want to be the best team in the league and I want to stomp everybody. But then at some point, if that's the real case, those teams in the bottom, they're going to get tired of playing, and then you're not going to have a league, and then you're not going to have a league that you're dominating because no one wants to play if they're the last place team.
Yeah, there's got to be multiple options for them to better their team in some respect. And granted, yes, the goal is to create a dynasty. The goal is to crush your enemies, so to speak, but not by, this doesn't really make sense, but putting your foot on their throat,
right,
and closing all the avenues for them to get better. Like I think what the domino effect is also, as far as not just the waiver wire, but activity and trading. Active owners, I think, is one of the biggest
main
keys. Of having the league together. And some guys, we were all new to Dynasty when we started, and we're still pretty new. So there's a lot of people out there who've been playing Dynasty for years, and they're well versed in trading and making moves and doing this and doing that, and they play multiple formats. But there's a lot of guys, and it's a home league kind of a thing. So we all see each other, we all know each other. It's a different animal than having. I'm in a Dynasty league where everybody's in different states or different countries, and I've never met any of these people, and that's a whole different story when it comes to, trying to be active and trade.
To me, that might help you though.
It could,
because once, like, we're all friends in these dynasty leagues, and once everyone starts to kind of know each other and know our ways, it makes it harder to trade. Like
yeah.
I was.
It's like poker. You know somebody's tells, and when they're kind of trying to give you
right.
hot trash. Or
in our league, in our original Venetian league, I had 9 draft picks this last draft, but I had no roster spots open. So after this draft, I had to figure out a way to trim down. I ended up trading one of the picks away at the draft, so I had to trim down eight guys. And so I immediately got right on and started like trying to wheel and deal for 2019 and 2020 picks, so that I didn't have to cut 8 guys. And I gave guys away that had value, but I went to teams that I knew needed those type of players, so that I could trim the roster down without having to just throw these guys out to the waiver.
Yeah, consolidating
yes.
your roster, and
yes.
then like even if you're just stacked in, it's always nice to get as many picks as you can, but then at some point you're gonna have to either kick the can down the road, to next year down the road, because you still have plenty of picks that you picked. You don't want to have to pick. I think all of those picks in the draft.
No, it's fun though. That's a problem.
It is fun.
You get to the draft, like I had 9 picks, and I'm like looking at the guys falling to me, and I'm like, wow, this is great. And now it's like I'm stuck because I don't want to cut those guys I just drafted, and next year I'm gonna be in the same boat.
Yeah, and you can't field a team with all rookies.
No,
you're not gonna go anywhere. But I actually didn't have very many picks in this draft, and I actually tried to do the opposite and offer somebody who had plenty of picks, who I thought, well, man, they might have trouble with their roster, so maybe they want to kick one of these picks down the road to next year, and completely got shot down. Like it was crazy. Like it was, I'm losing all kind of value by doing that. And like, well, if there's somebody there you want, yeah, go ahead, obviously take them. But
Paul.
No, Tony.
Oh, okay.
Tony, yeah.
I was stuck in the situation to where I was waiting for people to come to me because I had a good stretch of picks there, and I was waiting for anybody to come to me, and I finally had somebody come to me with the 302, I believe, 302 or 303 I had coming up, and I knew I would have taken at that spot if I had to pick it. I already had somebody in mind that was going to fall to me, and I had one of the other owners come to me and say, hey, what do you want for this pick coming up? And I immediately was like, a 2019 second. Just so I can get out of that pick, so it's one less guy to pick. And they're like, deal. And that's how fast that deal was done. So I ended up trading the 302. They took the guy that I was going to take. It was Sam Darnold at the 302. That's who I was going to grab. That's who he traded up to grab. And I ended up getting a 2019 second. So I got out of that. That's one less roster spot I had to cut back.
I feel like you made a profit out of that.
Right, because I gave up a 302. So even if this guy wins the championship, the worst thing I'm going to get is 212.
And it's a start one. So, I mean...
Correct.
Unless you're dying at quarterback, what do you...
Correct.
Yeah, that was beautiful. How are we sitting here on this conversation time?
We're about 25 minutes, so we can definitely hit another topic for sure.
Okay, so how about we get into...
Pick your favorite topic off of there, because we can always save these other topics for another episode, especially when James gets back, because now he's a new commish as well.
Let's talk goals and visions for your league. And I know it's a little bit different for the leagues that we commission, because I can have, the sky's the limit for me as far as what goals or visions I have for the league, because I'm not hamstrung necessarily by having to the bureaucratic red tape, so to speak, or
right.
I can devote on everything. So,
right.
But given that, and maybe tie into that, because honestly, I think you as commissioner, you run it, you have the responsibility of doing it, all that. You take all the money, it's all on your shoulders. So
it's a thankless job.
You should have some of the power that has never kind of, just the way it's been in this league, it shouldn't always be like that. I feel like there should be some kind of transition, and I fully support it, dude. Like,
it's definitely a thankless job. It's a lot of work. I would love to have my wife interviewed and see how much she loves me being commissioner. I've had to cut back because I mean, truth be told, man, if my wife didn't care about how many leagues I was in or how much time I spent doing it, I would probably be in 10 or more leagues.
Yeah.
Like I'm that into it, and I've had to cut it back to where I think I'm down to 6 right now. But I was up as high as 8, and she noticed that I was in 8.
And it's
so
all home ones, so it's a little bit different. 'Cause
right.
If you're in the long form email drafts, you can kind of just draft them. It doesn't really affect what's going on.
But she is definitely, my wife that is, Kelly has definitely been into the whole dynasty thing, because I explained to her, I was like, look, if we do a dynasty startup, that one draft is going to take a long time. It is. Especially if we go in person, it's going to take a long time. But every year after that is only 5 rounds, which is about an hour and a half to 2 hour draft, roughly.
Previously, they've been, 15 to 17 round redrafts?
Yeah, they're like 15, 16 rounds, and they're at least 3.5 hours. Yeah. With the rookie drafts. And not only that, but then when you do the rookie drafts, it's more spread out. I used to, at one point when it was all redraft leagues, every August.
Yeah.
Every August, I was doing 8 drafts in August.
1 week was like, baby, I'm not going to see you.
Right.
And you're going to be mad at me for 7 to 10 days.
Right.
Yeah.
But now it's like we do a rookie draft in June, in the middle of June, and then we do it at the end of June, and then maybe we do it like the first week of July, and then it's like I'll have like 2 redrafts now. So now it's gotten to the point to where in August rolls around, I'm only going to have 2 drafts. So they're spread out more. Yeah. Exactly. Because that's right when school starts, so it's always right up against that time frame to where I wouldn't dare ever in my life schedule a draft the night before the first day of school.
Oh, That's
So I have
that's a death
a
sentence.
son going into the 7th grade, and I have a daughter going into the 4th. And so they're obviously a lot more independent than they were when they were really little. But even to this day, I will not schedule a draft on the night before. And I have to be very careful and very selective on my draft nights. So it's a slippery slope. Like I said, it's a thankless job. Like other people in the league, they just have to sit and kind of wait for you. Like, hey, the draft is on this night. Okay, I'll be there. Like I have to correlate everybody and make sure everyone's in town, make sure everyone's going to be there. If you're not going to be there, you have to have somebody there to draft your team because we don't want you just to drop out at the last second. It's very difficult to try to man everything.
But when it goes off good without a hitch, that's got to be one of the joys of being a commissioner. Is draft night is great.
It's great.
It's
Draft
awesome.
night is the best night on earth, and it's like having one of our good friends just described this too. It's like having Christmas morning when you were a kid. It's like the night before the draft, like the day of the draft, and you know there's a draft that night. It's like Christmas morning.
Yeah.
Going down and seeing that present that you wanted, that you asked for. It's like you get the butterflies in your stomach, and you're like, you're ready. Like I'll do a draft right now. If you said we have a draft tonight, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to roll at any time.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Since you've cut back on your leagues, do you have, mainly I'm talking about the Dynasty one.
Okay.
Do you have, like, do you look at the league and say, hey, what would make this league better? Like, where, do you have, like, any idea, or are you just kind of resigned to, look, if somebody brings something up, we'll throw it out there and we'll vote on it? Or do you have, like, any kind of, like, vision or goal that you'd like to see happen for the league? That's a tough one, I know.
I don't have, like, personal goals that I want to see the league do. I really don't. What my main concern is, and this has been since day one, is I want everybody in the league to have fun and it be something that they look forward to. So however I can make it better for everybody else, I'm down for. I don't have anything personal. The only thing I can say that I've personally done in the last couple of years is, it used to be just whatever money was involved for the leagues. Now it's more of like getting into trophies and championship belts, and like you did a ring and a trophy for your league. Like to me, that's the only personal change I've made. I literally came to the thing and said, hey, I want to start doing a trophy or a belt. Everyone throw in $10 extra, and I'll take care of that. I'll order it. I'll get it, the right stuff on it. Like I'll take care of that, and we'll have it for the next draft. And that's gone over really well. Everyone's really pumped about that.
Yeah, who doesn't like to have a little hardware?
Right, a championship belt. Like I have 2 championship belts. I love those things.
I mean, money's nice too, but guess what? You're going to spend that. It's going to be gone.
Right.
You're not going to hang your money on the wall and be like, man, remember in 2017 when I won that championship?
And then getting to show up in the next draft with your belt because it's your belt. Like you show up in the next draft, like that. There's no better feeling.
That's why when I got for my Dynasty League, I was looking for something different because I love the belts. I have a belt from our Dynasty League.
Yes.
My Dynasty, I won that first year, so I love having the belt. But I always keep in mind, because we're in a lot of leagues together with various people, I want them to be different, even just for myself. So I wanted to try to find a different kind of trophy, and I think I've stumbled upon, I'll give them a little plug, LordManly.com. They have these really cool trophies that I stumbled on, and I got one of them, and I also got the ring, and the ring I got was so at the drafts you could just bring the ring. You don't have to haul your trophy around. So he can have his trophy at home, but he's also got his little hardware, his little bling. He can show up to the and it's a pretty heavy duty little ring. It's a pretty cool looking little ring.
It is a pretty cool ring. Did you get the ring off of that same website, or is it completely different? Okay.
No.
So Lord Manly was just for the statue.
Yes.
Okay.
And they had, I think they're fairly new. They only had like three options, but they're pretty badass options. They're pretty cool.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, it kind of reminds me, if you look at it, if you go on this website and you look at it, it reminds me of like Spartacus, one of
them's like 300
Gladiator,
kind of theme,
yeah,
like Sparta.
But they're football themed. Like the guy, instead of having a sword, he's got a football in his hand.
They're detailed.
Yes, and instead of having a spear or something like that, he's got a gun that's shooting footballs. Stuff like that. It's pretty. They're pretty unique.
Yeah, there's 3. One's called Balls of Duty, which is kind of the one I got. That's the one with he's got this big machine gun with the bullet kind of belt that hangs out and just kind of feeds into it.
The magazine is all footballs.
But it's bullets. Yeah, it's bullets. He's got some guys laying around his feet. The Sparta one, the 300 one kind of themed is it's like the guy's the quarterback and he's got the football, and instead of the offensive line in front of him, he's kind of got his other Spartans with the shields
Right.
blocking for him.
Right.
And then my favorite, which I didn't get because I almost wanted to get this and hold it for something special because it's kind of cool. It's called the mustache ride.
Yeah.
And he's got a guy in a headlock, and then he's flipping a big old bird middle finger. Like it's just cool. It's just cool looking.
This one kind of reminds me. It's almost like he's almost in the pose of the Heisman pose.
Yes.
Almost.
Yeah.
Instead of putting the hand down like the stiff arm, he's flipping the bird, and instead of like pushing a guy down with a football, he's got the guy in a headlock. So it's kind of like that type of theme. But definitely go and check them out because they're pretty unique trophies.
So along with being unique and visions and goals and because just I don't know the feeling that I kind of get when I feel like I'm doing whatever for the league.
Right.
Like I feel like part of me feels like you're missing out on that a little bit, and I get the situation. I totally do, and I totally get it. It's difficult. But for me, for like the goals and the visions of the league, how I named our league, it's the greatest dynasty on earth because that's my goal. I want to make it like your favorite league that you're in. That league that if you're dropping leagues and cutting back, this is the one that you're not going to cut back on.
The everlasting, like the everlasting gobstopper.
Yeah,
it's everlasting. Dynasty.
So I wanted like a cool trophy. It's going to change. You got your ring. The payouts for. Like we started doing another league where it pays out the 6 teams that make the playoffs all get paid.
And that's one of those things that we voted on, but that was unanimous, like across the board, that everyone wanted to change the payouts in the big boy league. But that's the kind of stuff, like you said, that I like to keep it fresh. So to finish your question that you asked me, even though I don't have personal goals, I'm always open to listening to any suggestions. Like I won't shoot down any suggestions. If someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I really think maybe we should try to do this," and I'll listen to the suggestion, and then I'll go to the league and I'll put it up on a poll, like on Facebook or whatever, and say, "Hey, look, this was brought to my attention. I think it's interesting. What are your guys' thoughts on this?" And sometimes it gets shot down right away, like when we tried to add an extra roster spot in the original dynasty.
And that's understandable
Because we try to get rid of kickers and defenses.
Right.
Because it's getting outdated, frankly. Leave the kickers and defenses for a redraft, in my opinion, but it got voted down right away. So we said, okay, we'll move on. But some stuff is taken to, and everyone jumps on it.
Yeah.
So I'm open to listening to any kind of change anybody has because that's what I want to do is try to keep everybody happy and keep them invested in it. And that's what I think is going to keep everybody happy is everybody being active.
Yeah, I agree. Are we up against it?
Yeah, I think we pretty much are.
Okay. Hopefully we can do another one of these when James is back because
I would like to get his ideas on it. Yes.
A lot of different I think facets of being a commissioner and what it takes or what you can do or what are some things that we haven't thought of yet that could make your league more fun and more interesting and guys more active and all those things that will make the camaraderie of being in the Dynasty League, which is kind of why I think we all kind of do it, is that camaraderie, that competition, everything that goes along with it. So,
I agree. That's what it basically is. You get the competition juices flowing, competitive juices flowing, and it takes over.
Unathletic dude on the planet or woman, and you can get in there and kick some tail.
We need to get some more women interviews. Is what we need to do because we play with a lot of female, fantasy players, and we need to get them on the show.
Yeah, I
think-
agree. There's a couple in our league that would be a pretty good interview, I think.
I think so too.
So all right, we're gonna wrap this up, tie a bow on it. We're gonna crack some cold ones, and see if we can't get a hold of our boy in Phoenix, Arizona. See what he's up
And
to.
hopefully he made it.
All right, brother. Let's crack a cold.
Let's
one.
crack it.